question. Are you satisfied with the answers, and are you content with what you know what happened?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, there are a lot of reasons why, despite all of the hearings, all of the information that's been provided, some choose not to be satisfied and choose to continue to move forward. That's their choice, and I do not believe there is any reason for it to continue in this way, but they get to call the shots in the Congress.
That, of course, is the cut that I define as a combination of, for those who are willing to see it, there's a vast right-wing conspiracy, and combined with what difference does it make? That was Hillary several weeks ago. Today, an excerpt from her forthcoming book has leaked, and it's from the chapter on Benghazi, or at least a chapter that addresses Benghazi. And the panel is back, C. Edmund Wright and Peter Morici. And gentlemen, one of the things she says in a 34-page chapter on Benghazi, those who exploit this tragedy over and over as a political tool minimize the sacrifice of those who served our country. Then she reportedly wrote, I will not be part of a political slugfest on the backs of dead Americans. It is just plain wrong, and it's unworthy of our great country. Those who insist on politicizing the tragedy will have to do so without me. Edmund, does this mean if she sits in front of a committee, she's going to read this? You know, we had Sean Spicer on from the RNC, and he says he believes this is literally going to be her testimony before the committee.
Oh, yeah, it probably will be. You know, but it's interesting. She wrote 34 pages, which seems to me, Steve, to be a little bit of an in-depth analysis of something that had previously been described as something that, you know, what difference does it make, Senator? So it's interesting she spent 34 pages on it. But again, just like the Clintons have always done, they want to point to the motivations of those who are questioning them. So even if we conceded the point that the Republicans going after her on Benghazi were doing it for purely partisan reasons, if everything the Republicans are asking or asserting is correct, it really doesn't matter what the Republicans' motivations were if they get to the truth. And I look forward to Trey Gowdy and working through this.
Oh yeah, what about it, Peter?
Well, it's just basically saying, I don't want to talk about it. You know, this is embarrassing to me, so I don't want to talk about it. And she's in a position, because of the stature she enjoys with women, to make the kind of statement she just made and skate. They'll vote for her anyway. She's still ahead by huge margins in the polls. And why? She only killed 5 men. That's it. You know, what are they? And that's how women in our country seem to feel right now. And that's very unfortunate. It was like with Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. They were getting what they wanted with Bill Clinton. They were getting all the female political appointees, kinds of changes feminists had hoped would happen for a very long time. And for that, they were willing to tolerate something that in any other male official, they would have demanded his head and criminal prosecution. But that's just the way the left works.
Yep, you're right. Let me turn to this real quick. The State Department spokesperson and John Kerry have both said that they don't believe, far from being a failure at foreign policy, they don't believe Barack Obama gets enough credit for the foreign policy successes such as Iran and Libya and Ukraine.
Oh,
Peter?
really? The Ukraine? Oh, my God. He gives away the Crimea. He gives them a pass on the Crimea, and that's a success? I guess he'd have to lose the state of Montana before liberals would get worried. You know what they would say? Nancy would go to the well of the House. She would give up the speech. She would go to the well of the House and say, Mr. Speaker, after all, those people in Wyoming and Montana, they always voted Republican anyway, and they're a bunch of Luddites and backward, and so it's okay.
What about it, Edmund?
I heard that press conference earlier, and I don't know, how do you answer something like that? Doesn't get enough credit. You know, I was looking at this little this little redhead spokesperson, and I was reminded she must be the female alternative to the dude that Brett Baer interviewed. Where do they get these little 20-something know-nothings? I guess the professor's right. They can go to academia and get these kind of clones.
If you want lightning for brains and people educated beyond their intelligence, recruit senior civil servants in America's universities.
Yeah.
But it's not. But in fairness, Kerry said the same thing. All right, guys, we're coming. Listen, thank you. We'll see you in the next time around. Thank you for being on the panel. Always appreciate talking to both Peter Morici and C. Edmund Wright. All right, folks, Newsmax will now take a look at the history of the flight from the Wright brothers. You know the Wright brothers. They're not the wrong brothers. They're not the left brothers. They're the Wright brothers. From there to the space shuttle program. Stay tuned.
Fly 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic.
Here she is, safe and sound, having just completed the first flight by a woman across the Atlantic.
Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? We choose to go to the moon.
And I will ride into the fire.
It's one small step for man.
Rise above the flames.
One giant leap for
I will
mankind.
climb like a phoenix and rise.
The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger slipped the surly bonds of Earth to touch the face of God.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We've only just begun. We're still pioneers.
Federal and state authorities urge